The story of artificial intelligence isn't this clean, straight line of progress. It's actually way more dramatic. It's a cycle of incredible hype, followed by massive disappointment. So today, we're going to dive into this history of AI's booms and busts to figure out if this crazy moment we're in now is actually different, or if we're just doomed to repeat the past.
Let's just start with where we are right now. We're deep in what you could call an AI super summer. The things modern AI can do are, well, they're just astounding, and the excitement around it is everywhere. It really feels like our world is being remade in real time.
I'm sure you've seen this, right? You've probably even played with it. We've got generative AI that can create these breathtaking images or write whole essays from just a few words. This kind of creative power used to be pure science fiction, and now it's literally at our fingertips. It's no wonder everyone's imagination is running wild.
But it's so much more than just making cool pictures and writing poems. This tech is starting to tackle some of our biggest, most complex challenges. It's becoming this vital tool in medicine, helping doctors spot diseases way more accurately. And of course, it's the brain behind the whole push for self-driving cars. These aren't just little lab experiments anymore. These are real-world tools with huge impact. And of course, what's fueling all this? Money. A staggering amount of money. Billions upon billions are just pouring into AI research from every corner of the globe. And the result is this just dizzying pace of innovation. It feels like we get a new mind-blowing breakthrough every single week. So the feeling is it's electric. It really feels like we're on the brink of something truly massive. But, and this is the big but, what if I told you we've been promised all of this before? What if this incredible optimism, this promise of world-changing machines, isn't new at all? To really get what's happening today, we've got to look back at the ghosts of AI's past. Because the history of AI is littered with these periods of intense hope that are followed by a sudden, brutal collapse. They have a name for them: AI winters. Just listen to this. This quote absolutely nails the crazy optimism of AI's so-called golden era. Back in 1970, one of the godfathers of the field, Marvin Minsky, made this incredibly bold claim. The belief was that truly human-level AI was just around the corner. And for a while, the funding just flowed like a river based on that promise. 3 years. That's it. Just 3 years after that wild prediction, the whole dream just slammed on the brakes. One critical government report was all it took to turn off the money faucet, and it plunged the entire field into a deep freeze that lasted for the better part of a decade. The summer was definitely over. So that brings us to this term, AI winter. What does that even mean? Well, it's not just things slowing down. It is a total, full-on collapse. It's that moment when the promises get so big, so inflated, that the gap between the hype and what's actually possible becomes a chasm. And poof, the funding vanishes, labs shut down, and even saying the words artificial intelligence becomes kind of toxic. So, what kicked off this first big freeze? A government report, of all things, the Lighthill Report in the UK. This mathematician, Sir James Lighthill, basically said, look, these AI systems are great at solving simple little puzzles in the lab, but they totally fall apart in the real world. Why? Because of something called the combinatorial explosion. It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. As a problem gets just a little more complex, the number of possibilities explodes so fast that no computer can handle it. He said AI hadn't delivered on its big promises, and that was that. Funding was cut. And here's the thing. This wasn't just a one-off. The Lighthill Report, it was just the first domino to fall in this repeating pattern that has haunted AI's history. It's a cycle of massive hype, huge promises, and ultimately crushing disillusionment. So that first big wave was called symbolic AI. And the whole idea, the dream, was all about pure logic. They wanted to build machines that could reason like a mathematician, proving theorems, solving complex puzzles. But in reality, these systems were incredibly brittle. The moment they faced the messy, unpredictable real world, they just broke. That same combinatorial explosion Lighthill warned about, it paralyzed them. And then, believe it or not, the whole cycle just repeats itself in the 1980s with something called expert systems. This time, the goal was to bottle up human expertise, say a doctor's diagnostic skill, into thousands of if this, then that rules. But once again, reality bit back hard. They were a nightmare to update, they couldn't learn anything new, and the whole industry just went bust when the special computers they ran on became obsolete. Bam, another winter. Okay, so if we had these deep freezes, these winters, how on earth did we get to the super summer we're in today? Well, the thaw came from a totally different direction. A breakthrough that had been bubbling under the surface for decades, just waiting for its moment to shine.
You have to understand, for like 20 years, AI was basically in exile. The name itself was so unpopular that scientists had to rebrand their work, calling it things like informatics or data mining. But then a few key things happened quietly in the background. In 2009, this huge library of labeled images called ImageNet was released. Nobody really cared at the time, but it was laying the groundwork for a revolution that was about to explode in 2012.
And that brings us to this number, a number that honestly changed everything. In 2012, a new kind of AI, a neural network called AlexNet, entered that ImageNet competition. And it didn't just win, it demolished the competition. Its error rate was more than 10% better than the next best thing. That might not sound like a lot, but in that world, it was a seismic shock. It was the AlexNet moment, and it proved this new approach, deep learning, was the real deal. A new AI spring had finally arrived.
So what happened? How did this suddenly become possible? Well, it was like a perfect storm of three things coming together at just the right time. First, big data. You needed these massive, labeled datasets like ImageNet to teach the models. Second, big compute. And this came from a weird place, gaming graphics cards, GPUs. It turns out they were perfect for the kind of math these new models needed. And third, better algorithms. Specifically, a method called backpropagation that finally allowed these deep networks to learn from their mistakes efficiently.
And that brings us all the way back to today. We are riding this incredible wave that AlexNet started. It's a wave of an amazing progress. But now that we know the history, we have to ask the question, right? Are we just setting ourselves up for another fall? Or is this time truly different?
Because when you look closely, you can see the ghosts of those old problems, and they're still hanging around, just wearing new clothes. That combinatorial explosion from the 70s, it looks a lot like the mind-boggling, unsustainable cost of training today's giant models. And the brittleness of those old expert systems, well, that feels awfully similar to the hallucinations we see now, where an AI will just confidently make stuff up. The core challenges haven't just vanished, they've just evolved.
Okay, but there are some really, really good reasons to think that this time it actually is different. For one, AI isn't some weird academic project anymore. It is woven to the fabric of our daily lives. It's in your search engine, your social media, your phone. The money is also more stable, coming from giant tech companies, not just fickle government grants. And most importantly, we have real products that work and provide actual value, not just impressive-looking lab demos. And that's where we are. That's the core tension, right? History is screaming at us to be careful, to watch out for the hype. The old hard problems of complexity and reliability are still here. And yet, the foundation of today's AI boom feels so much stronger, so much more real than ever before. So the question we're left with is this: are we finally building something lasting, something real? Or are we just using more powerful tools to build an even taller, more spectacular house of cards?